Raz Manites, how are you? Well, there's no mystery about what today's episode is there? Yeah, remember at the end of the haul video when I talked about, episode, when I talked about how I was going to get a late Christmas gift and I plan on doing an unboxing? Well, when I saw what that late Christmas gift actually was, the idea of an unboxing actually went out the window because I had to tear right into it. I could not wait to watch it because due to the fact that I can't get out much in my situation, I'd never actually seen this in the cinema. And anybody that knows me knows how big of a fan I am of this particular director's work. So instead of an unboxing, today you're going to get a full-on Blu-ray and film review for the latest cinematic masterpiece from Christopher Nolan, Inception. Today, on the Raz Man's Reality. Alright, so, for those of you that are disappointed because you really did want an unboxing, well, I've got an easy answer for you, and I can pimp out a friend in the process. My buddy Sean, otherwise known as Hendricks, got this very same edition recently, and he put it in an episode of his called Boxing Day Blu-rays. So I will just link you to that, and you can see the full innards of this, and you can get your Inception unboxing fix that way. Now, before I get into the actual review of this, I feel that for this particular case, it is important for you to know what my thoughts were going into this film. Because despite it being a Christopher Nolan film, I was really on the edge about seeing this. And the reason is, unlike Sean, which you'll hear about if you go and watch that video and haven't seen it already and want to see the unboxing of Inception, I've never really been that big on dreams or that fascinated by dreams. I've had some dreams that have come true and all of that, but I never really, when I heard about what this film was supposed to be about, I thought, even if it is Christopher Nolan, how is he going to portray that on the screen? The story just wasn't very entertaining to me. I just didn't see the point in it. By the way, sorry if you hear any background noise. My mom is actually not left for work yet, but I'm trying to film now because she actually keeps my dog quiet. So yeah. But anyway, the basis of this story just didn't really grab my attention. I thought, how is that going to make for an interesting film? Well, lesson learned. There is a reason why you should never doubt the man who I have dubbed the master of practicality in Christopher Nolan. Because despite the epicness and scope of this story in Inception, you in fact do not get a film full of CGI computer-generated imagery. You get more practicality than you could have even fathomed when you see this film. And I should have known, because this is a guy who in The Dark Knight, of course, turned a semi flat on its back, an actual semi-truck. So again, that is why I've dubbed Christopher Nolan the king of practicality, because if there is a way to do something practical in any way, shape, or form, Nolan will do it. So if you're on the fence about this film because you thought it was going to be a boring plot or a CGI fest, I've just answered those two questions for you. Neither could be further from the truth, and you need to see this. Now, I'm not going to talk about the actual plot very much because there are millions of reviews. This movie came out in 2010 in a cinema. There are plenty of people who got an opportunity to see it in a cinema, so I'm not going to bore you with repeats of what's already been said. But the basic outline of this is that you see a vision of our world where there are people who have the ability to get inside your mind and control your dreams. And this film opens up showing how Leonardo DiCaprio, who plays Mr. Cobb, I can't actually remember his first name because I've only seen the film once, but that's what one of the main characters in the film calls him the entire time, is Mr. Cobb. His last name is Cobb. So you see his character, who is an architect, which are the people who go in your dreams and control them. You see that he is slowly starting to lose his touch as an architect, and from the first dream sequence that you see. Well, the same person that was in that first dream sequence that you see actually hires Cobb to do a very, very important thing in a dream world, and something that many people believe is not even possible. And that is the concept of Inception, which means that you go and you actually plant an idea in someone's head as their dream. That's how many levels of the dream you actually go into. You go into like second or third or fourth degree level of dreaming so that you can actually plant ideas in their head. Well, Cobb realizes because of what he's going through that he cannot do this himself, so he actually goes and hires another architect played by Ellen Page. So that is the basic plot line of this. I am not going to talk about the actual more important second plot line of this film because I do not want to ruin it for anyone who hasn't seen the film. What makes this film, however, is not its basic outline plot of dreams and dream world. What makes this film is the fact that it was indeed written and directed by Nolan. Nolan makes this film, not only as we've already established in this episode, because he is the king of practicality in a day and age that's full of CGI crapfest films, but he also wrote a very entertaining story, and just like every other film he's ever done, he is all about characters, and characters are what makes this story. The journey of Cobb in particular, as well as everyone else involved in the film, the way that Cobb affects his team, and especially Ellen Page, that is what makes you want to sit down for over 2 hours and watch this film, combined with the visual scope that this film provides. So this gets an A+ from me all across the board because it is a flashback to old school cinema in the sense that you think it's about one thing, and that being dreams and the dream world, and when you actually watch it, you realize that the entire point of the film is about something entirely different than what you expect it to be. And it's actually all about Cobb's story and the way that these characters as a whole are affected by what they do. And again, that's all I can say about it without giving it away. So the film itself, Christopher Nolan proves why he's the best writer and director on the planet right now. There are other guys that are in his category, Darren Aronofsky, David Fincher, they're both brilliant directors and writers, but Christopher Nolan to me is the best going today, and he shows why again in this film. he made this film what it is. So I give it an A+, as I said, for that reason. As for the Blu-ray itself, the Blu-ray gets a B+, or maybe even a B-. And the reason for that simply is that while it is a phenomenal transfer, and I don't believe the film could ever look any better, and if you have never seen this film, Blu-ray is by far the way that you need to see it, because if you do not see the visuals in the best way possible, you will not appreciate this film for what it is. So for that part of it gets an A+. The transfer is phenomenal, and everything about it is great. The reason that the Blu-ray itself gets a B+, or even a B-, is because I was very disappointed by the bonus features. There is supposed to be an exclusive BD Live featurette, which I will do one thing and repeat one thing that Sean Zernizrak said in that video that I referred you to earlier on in this episode. I think that they said they had a Blu-ray exclusive feature just to pimp out BD Live, and I could not find it anywhere. I, like him, searched for hours upon getting this and could not find it anywhere. So I do believe that the makers of Blu-ray are misusing Blu-ray Live, or BD Live, Blu-ray Disc Live, excuse me. I do believe that they are misusing it, and what it should be focused on is actual screenings, because I've taken part in screenings for The Dark Knight, for Sherlock Holmes, and the best one I ever took part in was for Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, where I actually got to speak to Daniel Radcliffe and one of the producers, David Heyman. So that was absolutely tremendous, and things like that BD Live is good for. And if they focus on that instead of these crappy features that no one can find, then yes, keep using it. But if you're gonna just make it about these crappy features that no one can find, then get rid of it, because it's pointless. But other than that BD Live feature that could not be found anywhere, really the only thing featured on this disc is a great documentary called Dreams, Cinema of the Subconscious, which is on disc 2. And even though I wasn't really fascinated by that world previously coming into this film, being the world of dreams, I did learn a lot about it from that documentary. So that is definitely the best thing on this disc. And you also get a motion comic called the Kobold Job. Sorry, I actually had to look down at the disc to remember what it was called. The back of the case, that is. But it's called the Kobold Job, and it's actually a really well done motion comic. So you get that, and then you get some trailers and some artwork. But other than that, there isn't really much to write home about, except what's on disc 1, which is called Inception Mode here, which are things that you can either watch during the course of the movie or during, bonus feature viewing by itself. On The Dark Knight, it was actually called Focus Points. On Harry Potter, it was called something else. But those are the best things on here, and those are really entertaining because you see how much of the more difficult scenes were done. But those are only 30, 40 minutes worth of stuff. They didn't take more than a half an hour, 40 minutes, as I just said, to get through. And so those are great. The documentary's great. The motion comic's great. But after that, there's nothing much else on this disc. And for the scope of this film, for the hype of this film, and the fact that it is done by the best guy, in my opinion, in Hollywood today, I expected more from it. So that's why I had to take down the grade on the actual disc a little bit. But that's not to say that I don't recommend this, because everything I just said is true, and this definitely is a must-own Blu-ray for your collection. With that, that is all the time that I have for this episode. Plenty more to come when I can find the time. I've been a little under the weather lately. That's why you went so long without an update. But plenty more to come. Backlogs of reviews to finish that I never got to. All this new stuff that you saw in the last episode that I need to get into. So much more planned. The Raz Man's reality is going to be definitely where it's at over the next few months, so stay tuned. This is reality according to the Raz Man. And Raz Man style, it's not just a catchphrase, but a way of life.